It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Pros, hands up. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan. Talking about what's going on in sports. Always love to hear from you as well. 435-339-0321. A lot of discussion in the first hour about Utah State, how they handled their bye week, and just the current state of the Mountain West, at least in standings and what took place over the weekend with their games. There continues to be more drama on what will happen between the Mountain West and the Pac-12. Rumors continue to be thrown around about who's next to go to either conference, because both conferences need the Pac-12 needs one more school. Mountain West needs two more full members to get to 8. So maybe we'll try to get into some of that today if we can. But also, it was a busy weekend for high school sports, as continuing on for football, girls soccer, girls volleyball, and we have the latest RPI rankings for all of those schools, or for all those sports, I should say. And it was an interesting Friday night for high school football here in Region 11, and the game I thought would be the most interesting to watch. It was interesting, but clearly the most competitive game was the one that was over in Box Elder County between Skyview and Bear River.
Yeah, definitely a really exciting one there. Is you got going down to the wire. I mean, last minute you get a go ahead touchdown there. Was it? Yeah, they were down. I suddenly can't remember.
Well, it was a tie game.
That was 14-14, and
right.
They scored the go ahead to go up 20-14. So in the last minute. So really kind of stressful, being tied there, but getting that last minute score there. And both teams playing really well. Bear River really stepping up, because Skyview looked like they were suddenly, looking almost as dominant as Ridgeline has been. And Bear River's been looking like they're struggling and, barely getting their first win of the season. They step up here and, moral victories don't go in the win column, but you certainly love how hard Bear River played in this one. I believe was it their homecoming?
It was their homecoming, yes.
So, yeah, playing with a lot of pride there and, trying to come away with the win, but just coming up short as Skyview, for the second time in as many weeks, I believe, making the clutch plays when they matter.
Yes, that's very true. This Skyview team has had a lot of close finishes, but with that win, that keeps them in the hunt, keeps them rated very high in the latest RPI rankings, and keeps them at number 3 overall in the state with that victory. Unfortunately, Bear River didn't really move much because they're still trying to find some wins on their schedule. But the game that we thought would be really interesting and one to really watch was the other homecoming game that was taking place in Hiram, and that was Green Canyon versus Mountain Crest. And I guess if you're a Mountain Crest fan, it was very fun to watch. Not that it was a runaway. It was still a competitive game. But
it felt like a runaway fairly early.
True. Mountain Crest jumped out early. Green Canyon tried to get themselves back into it so it wasn't a blowout. But Mountain Crest doubling up the Wolves 28-14 on Friday.
Yeah, in starting out 21-0, in the first quarter, go up 28-0 at halftime. This game was, I'm not going to say it was won in the first half because obviously you have to play the second half as well, but Mountain Crest got themselves such a big lead in the first half that even though they don't score in the second half, when you secure that big of a lead and you can play from the front, then it didn't really matter because they played good enough defense and ran the ball a lot. Preston Ramba, I'm not sure how to say his last name suddenly. I heard Jake Ellis say it like one time, and I can't remember how he said it.
Oh.
Mountain Crest running backs, apologies to Preston and his family for my inability to say your last name, but 33 carries, I believe, on the night. So just workhorse, second straight game of 150-plus rushing yards. And I think a couple of the touchdowns were from him. Yeah, a couple of rushing touchdowns, one in the first quarter, and then what ended up being their final touchdown late in the second quarter. So he did a lot of work there. So Mountain Crest building that lead, and then great game playing from the front. Yeah, they did give up 2 touchdowns late in the fourth quarter. They gave up one with 5 minutes to go and then 2 minutes to go. But at that point, it was too little too late, and Mountain Crest you don't want to, but they could afford to play sloppily on defense at that point to allow those touchdowns.
Yeah, and so Mountain Crest moves up in the rankings. Green Canyon slips a little. Green Canyon is at 7 currently in the RPI standings. Mountain Crest is at 10, but it's very tight. Park City is barely ahead of Mountain Crest, and Green Canyon is just a little bit behind Timpanogos. So that's a pretty tight situations here with some of these rankings and where things stand in the top 10 in 4A for high school football. And there was some discussion. Some people were thinking, well, Ridgeline, with their dominating win over Logan, they should surely be the number 1 team in the state. Problem is, Ridgeline beat a team that hasn't had very many wins, and so that opponent winning percentage is still kind of dragging down the Riverhawks and putting Spanish Fork ahead of them, as Spanish Fork is still the number 1 team, even though Ridgeline is the only undefeated team.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is that if you're saying because Ridgeline beat Logan 68-0, that's going to put them at number 1 in the RPI, it means you don't know how RPI works. Now, I'm not saying you're wrong that Ridgeline should be the number 1 team. That's not what I'm going to say here, because you can very much make that argument, and I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you. I think they are the number 1 team in 4A, but that's not how RPI works. Call it a flaw in RPI system, and I'd probably agree with you there too. The issue there is that Ridgeline, so when you beat an opponent, the thing that goes up that you control is your winning percentage. That is the one thing you can control, and when you win, it goes up. Except in Ridgeline's case, they've maxed out their own winning percentage in the RPI because it's a solid 100%. That cannot go up no matter what. So if they keep winning, they can never improve their RPI number unless they're improving their opponent win percentage. Meaning that last week, they could have beat Logan 1,000-0, and they still would have had their RPI number go down because Logan's win percentage and Logan's opponent's win percentage drags Ridgeline's numbers down.
Yeah, margin of victory means nothing.
Yeah. As flawed as you may think that is, again, I'm not necessarily going to disagree with you there, but that's how it is with RPI. So I don't know if Ridgeline's going to be able to jump up to number 1. What's the gap decimal-wise? Let me look at it real quick. It's fairly close. So if Spanish Fork loses, and it depends who else Ridgeline has on their schedule.
Well, big showdown this week for Ridgeline. This is number 2 versus number 3 on a Thursday.
Yeah, so Skyview and Mountain Crest will drag those numbers back up. So if they win, Ridgeline's number will go up. At least I think it will. I don't know if it'll be enough to go over Spanish Fork. Depends what they do and their opponents. But then it goes down when they play Westfield because that's another team that's down there.
So Spanish Fork has Provo, Payson, and Timpanogos still on their schedule. Timpanogos is number 6 in the standings. Provo's number 8. So Payson is pretty far down the list at 25. So Spanish Fork has some some pretty decent competition left on their schedule. Certainly, there's a massive showdown on Thursday for Region 11 with Ridgeline and Skyview scoring off.
Yeah, so that'll definitely be a big one. And who knows how the RPI will work out? It's a system that doesn't really gel with the eye test. When you look at it, you feel like you know who the number one team is, but it tells you it's somebody else. But again, it's just pure numbers, not taking into account point differential and things like that. It's just going to be win percentages, and it's quick, it's dirty. Sure, you may not get the pride of calling yourselves the number one team, but nobody uses these as true rankings anyway. It's playoff seeding. That's basically what it's there for. I wouldn't use it as a ranking system, and I typically haven't, because I would say Ridgeline's the number one team, and you might even argue for Skyview to be up there as either the number two team over Spanish Fork. It just depends, and we'll see. And the thing is, kind of on the point of the RPI, you look at Mountain Crest, I don't think they're probably going to move up from number 10 very far, if they do at all. Even if they win out, it would certainly help them move up if they won out, because teams in that middling range, some of them might lose. But I don't know if Mountain Crest, I can't remember exactly where that cutoff is for them to have. Well, I guess they'll have a home game, because like the first 4 or 5 get a bye. The next,
well, I think it's the first 8 get a bye. The top 8 teams get a bye.
So Mountain Crest will get a home game.
So they get a home game. They just don't have the benefit of taking an extra week.
But the way the Mountain Crest is playing, they're playing right now like the teams that are in that 4 to 6 range. Like they're playing 5 or 6 spots ahead of where they are in the RPI. So come playoff time, they're going to have a number 10 or a number 9 next to their name, but they're going to be a very hard out in the playoffs because they're a team that's been super competitive with teams that are way above them in the standings. Like, what was the final score of them in Skyview? It was like a 3 or 4 point game.
It's a 3-point game.
And, beating Green Canyon, who's several spots ahead of them in the standings. Like, Mountain Crest will come to play against these teams. And maybe they don't make it all the way to the semis or the championship game, but they're going to be a team that if they play like they are right now the rest of the season, they're an incredibly difficult team to beat.
Yeah, they're at Logan this week, and then they finish their season at home against Ridgeline. They will not play on that short week during fall break. So that's one other thing just to pass along the other score. It was Westfield. They did play Spanish Fork this Friday, lost 49-20. So that was the other score from Region 11. Other scores of note: Box Elder losing to Viewmont 49-21. Rich beating Bear Lake 14-0. A huge matchup in Idaho football, a rematch of a state title game, and maybe a precursor of what's more to come. But Declo beating Westside 6-0 in a defensive battle on Friday, and then Malad taking care of business against Soda Springs 35-6. Some of the other scores from around our area. So that's the latest in RPI rankings for high school football. And mentioned that the girls soccer regular season is nearing its end. And it's the Mountain Crest Mustangs have been so dominant. They've wrapped up the region. They've won Region 11 at this point. But they're kind of a similar situation like we find the Ridgeline Riverhawks in football. Mountain Crest is in a similar situation where they have the best record in girls soccer, but they are the number 2 team in the RPI ratings behind Snow Canyon.
Yeah, and Snow Canyon's obviously been very good as well, but I think Mountain Crest's probably the better team. Girls soccer hasn't been as strong as it's typically been. I think you've got the teams at the top, like Mountain Crest. They had, I think, a bit of an off year last year where Green Canyon stepped up and was really good. But Mountain Crest has taken that right back. And, yeah, they've wrapped up a region title. They've done very well. And, in my opinion, they should be the favorite to win the title. And if they don't, I'd honestly be surprised. Like, that's how good Mountain Crest has been. They've got fantastic scoring. They've got great defense. They've given up 3 goals in their last, 8 or 9 games. Like, the last time they gave up multiple goals in a game was against Ridgeline way back in August. but they've been absolutely incredible. I mean, what they were going on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight shutouts before they finally gave up a goal to Green Canyon, who aren't they like number
Green Canyon's number 3.
Yeah, number 3, the 3 team in the RPI. Like that's the one time, and they still won 3-1. So this is a very good Mountain Crest team, and Green Canyon's a very good team themselves. They're whooping up on the rest of the region, but can't quite get over the hump against Mountain Crest. So it's entirely possible. Well, depends if it stays in that 2 versus 3 on the RPI. They'll probably meet in the semifinals, and then that's the real championship game, and winner will go on and beat whoever the other team is. Because I don't know, Region 11 clears everyone in girls soccer, especially when it comes to their top teams.
Right. Mountain Crest only has one more game. They play on Tuesday because there's Westfield is in the mix. It's a imbalanced schedule.
Yeah, it's there 7 teams, so it's everyone's got to have a bye at some point.
Yeah, so Mountain Crest will not play on Thursday. Green Canyon does play on Tuesday and Thursday this week. But Mountain Crest at number 2, Green Canyon, at number 3, Ridgeline at number 11 in the latest RPI rankings, and Mountain Crest plays Ridgeline game in Hiram on Tuesday. So could be a pretty interesting showdown there between those two teams. Westfield is at number 15, Skyview at 19, Bear River at 20, and Logan at 27 in the latest girls RPI rankings. Well, probably the last ratings that will be out before the end of the regular season.
Yeah, they'll probably shut it down for this week, and then they'll next week or either was Saturday,
Friday or Saturday morning they'll announce the. I think there is a game on Friday for somebody because is it Ridgeline that plays on Friday? Because of their Thursday football game. I got to double check that. Anyway.
Yeah, so they'll time it out. They'll compile it and they'll release the final RPI, which is also when the bracket gets revealed.
Right. They host Westfield on Friday because normally they play Tuesdays and Thursdays, but because the football team is playing Thursday, their game gets moved to Friday, so the RPI won't be released in the playoff seeding that comes with it. That will come out on Saturday morning. In volleyball, just wrapping this up, the latest RPI for girls volleyball, Green Canyon sitting on top and pretty healthy margin above between them and number 2 as far as total wins and losses. Green Canyon volleyball undefeated, a perfect 17-0 on the season. Orem is the next rated team at number 2, but you have to go all the way down to number 9 before you find another team out of Region 11, and that's Ridgeline at 8-8 on the season so far.
Yeah, another situation where, like, at the top end, with girls soccer, dominant, likely best team in the state with Mountain Crest. Some of the rest of the region is struggling. Green Canyon's obviously doing fine. Then in volleyball, it's Green Canyon, best team, and then the rest of the region is struggling. But it's weird because normally in girls soccer and girls volleyball, we've been blessed with spectacular, like 1 through 6, and in this case, we 1 through 7, like a lot of good teams. But this year, a bit of an anomaly there. I don't expect this to. I expect the top end dominance to stay there, but the rest of the region will step up as they normally do.
Westfield at number 16, Skyview right behind at 17, Mountain Crest at 20, Logan right on their heels at 21, and Bear River coming in at number 27 in the latest RPI rankings for fall sports. So quick look around at what's going on in the latest with fall sports. Always love to highlight what these teams are doing as some of their regular season is winding down here, and playoffs right around the corner for some of these teams. Another quick timeout here in the Full Court Press. When we come back, we need to talk a little bit about the Mountain West and the Pac-12. What are the latest rumors about teams that are being targeted, schools that can join either school, and the growing chorus of that seems to be growing louder and louder about these two conferences. Should they just merge and call it good and just come together and set aside their differences, or is it better that they stay separate? We'll discuss and get your reactions as well next here on the Full Court Press.
You know you recognize that song. I'm talking to you, class of 1976. Hi, this is Rusty Allen with LSS Insurance, and turning 65 means it's time to talk Medicare. LSS is here to help. Call 752-9493 for help with Medicare. As your local agent, we will research benefits, costs, and look up prescriptions so there aren't any surprises at the pharmacy. Call LSS at 752-9493.
Are you looking for compassionate and reliable care for yourself or a loved one? Look no further than Aegis Home Health and Hospice. I'm Tom Sherlock, a licensed social worker, part of the dedicated team of professionals committed to meeting the needs of our community. Voted best in Northern Utah 2 years in a row, we pride ourselves on delivering exceptional service that you can depend on. We're here to ensure comfort and dignity every step of the way. When it comes to your health, choose the agency that Northern Utah trusts the most. Choose Aegis. Visit myaegis.com or call today 435-723-9000.
Overwhelmed by Social Security and Medicare options? October 2nd at 6 p.m., Adams Wealth Advisors and Senior Benefits Insurance Services invite you to a free seminar that'll simplify these crucial decisions. Experts Jaden May, National Social Security Advisor, and Sherry Crosby, licensed Medicare agent, will help optimize your Social Security benefits and help guide you through Medicare options and costs. October 2nd, 6 p.m., come learn your options with Social Security and Medicare. Go to adamswealthadvisors.com/SS to reserve your spot today. Understanding your options makes all the difference.
Following the local teams, it's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Let Crystal Vision's experienced staff get you glasses that fit your style. Glasses that are made for you. Whether you have hair or you don't have hair. It can matter.
These, I got blue. I don't wear glasses normally, but I have the blue light glasses. Do they look better on the bald head or when I had the hair?
They look better with the hair. Just no matter the question, you look better with the hair.
Eric does not like the bald look.
You go check them out at 14th North in Logan next to Sportsman's Warehouse, or check them out online, crystalvision.com. So, I eat my mic. The rumors continue to swirl around next steps for the Pac-12 and the Mountain West Conference. Both conferences need to continue, they continue to expand. The Pac-12 is expanding. The Mountain West is retracting. But the Mountain West needs to backfill with somebody, two somebodies at least. Pac-12 has one full member that they need to find. And so rumors swirl, and we're going over the weekend that the Mountain West was interested and in discussion with Northern Illinois and Toledo, though those who follow those schools say no formal invitation has been extended, but conversations seem to have been had. But then over the weekend, further discussions seemed to surface that the Mountain West was extending an invitation, or at least they were in conversation with Texas State.
Yeah, and at least one kind of unconfirmed, like you're not sure if it's a rando on Twitter or somebody who has insider info, is someone on the Texas State side, I believe, is they say that the invitation is incoming, essentially, that it's just about a done deal. It's kind of, I forget the exact wording, but that was the tone of that report, is that it was going to happen. Texas State was going to join the Mountain West, but nothing official as of the last time I checked, which was an hour and a half ago. So maybe I should have checked before just to make sure this doesn't age poorly, because heaven knows things move fast.
Things happen fast.
This conference realignment is testing my knowledge of different ways you can say chaos. I think
Yes.
I need to open up a thesaurus and figure out different ways to say all these to describe what the heck is going on with just conference realignment. But yeah, and it continues to just be a mess with these two conferences that are going to war for really stupid reasons. Like it really, and you say this coming from the side, like Utah State's in the Pac-12, is in theoretically the better position of power. And yet I still can't help but think this is just stupid. This, dividing of the Pac-12, dividing of the Mountain West, where half ends up in the Pac-12 and half stays in the Mountain West. And I thought you pointed me toward this article from Dennis Dodd, and it's not like it was anything groundbreaking, but there were a couple notable things. One is that, and I don't know how on point this is, because he just says industry sources, which can be vague and aren't necessarily the complete decision makers, but it seems that the TV executives, the almighty decision makers, because they're the ones with the media deals, they're the ones whose decisions have ruined college football and divided the conferences into these ridiculous gerrymandered conferences.
Their opinion matters more than anybody's.
Yeah. So they're the ones handing out the money, and they seem skeptical that the Pac-12 was really worth, more money than the Mountain West was going to end up getting. And again, you got to take that with a pretty big grain of salt or two. But the Pac-12, their whole pitch, and surely what they sent to Utah State was, we expect $10 to $15 million. As far as that, per school media deal payout, which would be fantastic. That would be great. If you're pitching that and if that's what's going to happen, then great. Utah State should have, was right to take that deal, and so were everyone else who's jumping over from the Mountain West, because that's worth it pretty much no matter what happens. But you're skeptical of, all right, who's paying for that? Is TNT going to pay for that? Is it really going to be better than if you just merged? Because as I've said over and over, and I mean others have said this as well, but there's over $150 million being spent, changing hands, solely for the right to not be in a conference with San Jose State and Wyoming and New Mexico and Nevada. Like, that's worth $150 million? I know people joke sometimes, but they are literally doing that. Why? Is it that bad? Is it a fate worse than death? I know San Jose State's been a doormat in college football a lot and in college basketball at times, and Wyoming's up and down in both football and basketball. Nevada's been down in football for the last little while, but they've been pretty good in basketball. New Mexico's kind of the same thing in both of those. It just ends up being kind of ridiculous. And, how much better is Utah State than a New Mexico and a Wyoming? Truly, how much better are they? Surely not that much. I would put them above both of those schools. And apparently people agree with me because Utah State got the invite to the Pac-12 over those schools. But I really think both conferences have hurt their overall value by fighting like this. And unless the Pac-12 really can pull off getting Gonzaga or maybe pulling off getting Memphis, they'll really only be maybe slightly better off than they were already, when they were in the Mountain West, and maybe not long-term any better off.
Well, the whole folly was that the Pac-12 only invited 4 schools and got their number to 6. They needed to get to 8 right away, because then it would have eliminated the AAC, an opportunity to try to circle their wagons, or the rest of the Mountain West to circle their wagons outside of Utah State. But that's neither here nor there. That's in the past. I mean, it was a major mistake that the Pac-12 committed, and they just overlooked. But you're sitting in a situation where do you go? The reports from Memphis are that the Pac-12 only offered about $2.5 million to help them with their exit fee, which was sitting at $25 million to leave the AAC.
It's we'll pay your tithing on that on that exit fee.
Yeah. So no wonder they said this was a bad deal.
It was.
And it was. Now, he didn't necessarily say, heck no, never, but just the offer that we got was a bad deal. And the door's still open for more conversations. And maybe they have to circle back and come with a more compelling offer. But this article with Dennis Dodd basically states from the TV people, there's nothing new here. unless either conference can get some central time zone schools, then there's nothing really new to even discuss or debate between what's already being carved out for the Mountain West specifically.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's not a good situation, I think, for either teams. I think Utah State's in a better situation than if they had stayed behind in the Mountain West. But the whole problem with this thing is there's a ceiling. There's a, everyone, reverse merger to the Pac-12, and you have a definitive, this is the best non-power conference. Like, just straight up the best non-power conference. No real questions asked. Definitely best in basketball, and would be pretty. I know right now it's really struggling in football, but you get yourself a good media deal, and maybe pump some money to some of these programs, and you can potentially boost that up. And the only conference that could have fought you on best in the G5 would have been the AAC, which is going through its own struggles with trying to replace some of the top end teams that it lost. So it's just crazy. We need to get to the text line because we've had a few of these piling up. First one from 5662 says, Dryland keeps talking about the future Pac-12 is going to be a power conference. I find that hard to believe with the current makeup. Is there even a rumor of that happening, or same old G5? It'll become G6 unless there's some merger. But yeah, anyone who's pretending that the Pac-12 is going to return to being a power conference team, not a chance in hell.
They'd have to have a significant infusion of cash that could be distributed league-wide, so each member institution could spend like a Power 5 school. But that's not happening, especially when you have to cut your war chest in half.
But say, like, they had
just
that.
To get your conference up to 8 schools.
They had that. They could have said, hey, we're just going to bring everyone over, and we're going to split this giant pile of money between all of us, and everyone gets, however, I don't know how much money they have and how much that would come out to. But, yeah, you could have lifted everybody up. But, no, we want to spend $150 million so that we don't have to be in a conference with, UNLV and San Jose State. But, oh, yeah, UNLV and San Jose State are going to get $10, $15, $20 million each to bolster their football programs.
Just for staying put.
Yeah, just to not be in that conference.
You don't have to pay an exit fee, and you get an additional $15, $20 million.
Yeah. 8908, if the Pac-12 gave Gonzaga the same deal the West Coast has with them, is it worth it? I mean, right now, it seems to be the deal they're giving to incoming teams is, like, you get 50% of the bowl / NC tournament credits money that you get. Instead of you pool everyone's credits and then you split it evenly, you get 50% just straight up, half of whatever you get. And then I imagine the other 50% then goes into the pool, then gets spread around, I think. Or maybe it's put into a pool and given to everyone else and you only keep I don't know how that math goes exactly, but you get a bigger chunk of the pie that you made before it gets sent off to somebody else.
Yeah. Again, I'm not exactly sure, but there is.
Well, I guess before it was you get 1/12 or 1/11.
Right. It was pretty even split, but we're definitely moving more and more towards performance based. You get to keep more of what you earn.
But Gonzaga currently keeps pretty much everything, don't they? Or pretty darn close to it.
Pretty close. I don't think they would allow them to get away with all of it, but they have a very healthy distribution that's in their favor.
So they have to get a deal that's just better than that, which is possible. I think the Pac-12 could maybe give that. I don't know if the 50% does that, but if Gonzaga joins, then they'd probably also get a share of the money that comes in from football, which they don't have to put anything into that, which may be a factor. But Gonzaga's flirted with the Mountain West in Big 12 before, so I'm not sold that the Pac-12 was actually going to add Gonzaga. Like, I'll believe it when I see it, and until then, I'm going to tell you it's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah. Let's see. A couple more texts coming through. 5338. Despite the recent statement of solidarity by the remaining Mountain West schools, I still believe that Wyoming will eventually receive an invitation to the Pac.
And so I think for now, everyone's staying put in the Mountain West because they've signed the memorandum of understanding. I think they're going to sign a grant of rights, which if they're not already locked down, they pretty much are locked down for like another 5 years, I think was the term they're looking at. And at the end of that 5 years, that's when you may see the UNLVs and Air Forces and whoever else maybe make the jump into the Pac-12. Now that UNLV, they might have gotten themselves out of debt or close to it, and maybe then it's worth it for them to jump. Who knows? I think long term, there will eventually be a flow into the Pac-12. And that's, again, why I think Utah State is in a good position, especially now, to be in the Pac-12, because that's where the better teams are going to eventually flow to.
Yes.
And so being there early is going to help them out. There's going to be a war between the Pac-12 and the Mountain West, but it's one that I believe ultimately the Pac-12 wins.
Agreed. They have the bigger brands, better schools, better name recognition.
Yeah. But again, the point with all the whining I've been doing is they're just wasting time and money so they can leave behind a couple of teams that they really deserve to be left behind.
And San Jose football has been improving the last few years, so do you really want to leave them behind?
Yeah. Is it really worth leaving these teams behind and sacrificing money on your plate so that you can leave teams behind that, again, don't necessarily deserve to be left behind? It's just kind of dumb.
5773, breaking news, Pete Rose has passed away at 83. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, that guy had a very interesting life.
He did. It's
8968, not that you know, but did Boise get the deal that they got in the Mountain West in football?
No, like so they gave the same entry conditions to everybody. Public media requests or public record requests got those that they basically term sheet. I've sent in a records request for the Utah State one. We'll see how fast they get back to me on that. Some of it was redacted from the original because they had one for the 4 teams. Their names were all on it: Boise State, Fresno State, San Diego State, Colorado State. And I read through that. Some of it I don't understand because I don't speak legalese, but the important thing being that revenue split, the 50% of bowl / NCAA tournament credit units you earn, you keep that. The other 50% goes to the conference, and all 4 of the teams got the same deal. I imagine Utah State got the same deal, but I'll wait until I read it on a piece of paper to confirm that.
Yeah, it's as far as my understanding is, Boise State had the deal where they, if they appeared on national broadcasts, they would earn or retain more money. The Mountain West tried to create some kind of not really an incentive, but kind of a reward system. Basically, if you appeared on national TV, you got a little spiff. But Boise State had something that was much more than everybody else, and that was to keep them in the conference after the Big East deal fell apart.
Yeah, it didn't exactly work long term. So, well, I mean, it kept them in the conference for a little while longer, I guess.
Yeah.
But the Big East fell to pieces. So
Craig Thompson publicly stated that was going to go away, and Boise State people quickly trotted that out and said, "You try it, and we'll sue you because it's in writing." And then that went away. But now they're in a new conference.
Yeah, they're not getting
that deal disappears.
Oregon State and Washington State, we're not giving them that sweetheart deal.
No. Let's see. We do need to take a quick time out. We'll continue to discuss that. By the way, maybe if we have a second, I'll just discovered this. Forbes has just published an article earlier today. It's a data-driven look at Pac-12 and Mountain West expansion candidates. And anyway, interesting to what their results have discovered. Not too many surprises on there, but we'll discuss that as well as other things that are going on. We've got to get the Pick 6 results. How did we do? And try to predict the weekend. Let's continue to get your reactions to the weekend that was. Mountain West and the Pac-12. Should they just merge, or is it better for those two conferences to exist independent of each other? Love to get your opinions on that as well. 435-339-0321.
When grid failures and severe weather cause power outages, your business might take a hit, or at home, you could lose your refrigerated food storage. Generac Standby Power Solutions help ensure an uninterrupted power supply. Generac is the #1 brand of standby generators. Get yours today from Golden Spike Electric, your trusted source for safety and security. Golden Spike Electric, powering your peace of mind. Online at gsegenerators.com or call 257-3016. They also service other models.
This is Jay with Daryl's Appliance. Here are the top 3 reasons to buy from Daryl's. Number 1, Daryl's has the best pricing and save more with exclusive mail-in rebates up to $600 extra. Number 2, introducing a 2-year parts and labor warranty on all appliances when delivered and installed by us. That's security. Number 3, if something goes wrong, Daryl's factory-trained in-house techs service everything we sell. From the service to the sale and install, Daryl's Appliance does it all. Daryl's, west on Airport Road, open until 6 p.m. on weekdays, 5 on Saturday.
The patio is open. The chips are endless. Drinks on tap. You know it's got to be Cafe Sabor, Cache Valley's best Mexican restaurant, gold winner in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Experience Locals Day every Thursday with a huge burrito, endless chips and soda, only $7.95. That's a complete lunch for just $7.95. Finding any lunch under $10 is nearly impossible. Every Thursday, drinks, chips, and massive burrito, just $7.95. The patio, the sun, the fun at Cafe Sabor in the historic train station on 6th Weston Center in Logan.
Clean it up and get it out before the snow flies. Don't wait another winter. Let DD Auto and Salvage pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles by paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204 today.
See store for details.
The Aggies are number 1 here. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. 435-339-0321. Should the Mountain West and Pac-12 just merge? Or is it better that these two conferences exist independent of each other? Merger, just put it all under one umbrella, create the best G5 conference. You have a better path to the college football playoff every year. Probably get a little better media deal.
Yeah, like if you could just did that reverse merger, put them under the Pac-12 if you want the historic branding and being the Pac-12.
And have access to that war chest,
yeah,
$250 million.
Then you probably do get that $10 to $15 million media deal. Like, you almost definitely would. Like, the Mountain West was going to brush up against that anyway with this next, if the Pac-12 hadn't gotten involved at all, the Mountain West would have come pretty close to that. And if you add Oregon State and Washington State, then yeah, that probably put them into that range. But now you're not sure. Like, you took the best of the Mountain West, but you left behind some of the best basketball schools. And you got the best football schools for the most part. Like 10 out of the last 11 Mountain West champions. So, yeah, you got the best of them. But I know football is the driving force, but yeah, it's just long term, it feels like the Pac-12 is going to have the advantage and they can draw everyone away. But it just seems like a giant waste, again, just to leave behind Wyoming, leave behind San Jose State, New Mexico. Again, it feels like a complete waste.
But if they're independent of each other, you create a great rivalry because they're not either one going to be significantly ahead of the other. And there's always going to be this battle about which conference is better every year.
Yeah, but a battle between conferences can be fun. I get that. But how about a battle in between each other in the same conference? Interconference, there's no such thing as an interconference rivalry game. Like, unless you're like traditional rivals in that sense, but that's just history between two teams. Like Utah State against Nevada. Like, it's going to lose some of its luster because it'll just be like, oh, remember the old times when we used to play you twice a year? Well, now we're going to play you in the middle of November, and we are not going to care about the results of this game anyway because we're just going to worry about conference play. Like, it loses so much of its luster as opposed to, you look at Utah State, they play New Mexico. Like, is an instant classic at the end of the last regular season when they play New Mexico, and you get Darius Brown hitting that shot, and now at best it's a game in early December against New Mexico. Maybe you schedule a home and home. Again, this is the problem with college athletics is you're losing things. And yeah, you might gain an interesting rivalry between conferences, but it's one that I would say ultimately is destined for the Pac-12 to just be better.
Create an annual MTE event. Yeah. Wait, I guess that's redundant. MTE event, multi-team event.
You gonna drop by the ATM machine later too?
Yeah, that's right. Let's see, 5879 texting in. It seems like all the Pac-12 needs to do is steal a few more Mountain West teams, and that would release all the obligations the rest of the schools have to pay for leaving the Pac-12. Well, they'll need to get to 9. Right now they're at 6. Excuse me. No, they're only at 5. They've poached 5 out of the Mountain West. They need to get to 9.
And if you're getting to 9, you might as well just take all of them.
Right.
Or maybe you don't take all of them. I don't know. Maybe the best would have been to just take the top 9, I guess. Because, then you're not having to pay all that money, and you just dissolve the conference. Of course, then I guess at the 9, then you're paying, I guess if you do get the 9, then you avoid all the exit fees.
Right. Then they can all vote to disband and dissolve the conference.
Yeah.
There are no exit fees.
No exit fees, no
There's
poaching
penalty.
So, like I said, they're paying $150 million to avoid, pick whichever teams are left. Those are the ones they're paying to avoid.
And meanwhile, you're boosting up the financial coffers of your rival conference.
They're creating a rival conference and making that rival conference significantly richer.
You're gifting them opportunities to make them more competitive than you are.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah. 5773 texting in, Pac Mountain 12 West.
They probably should just call it the Pac Mountain, or I don't know.
Mountain Pac.
Mountain Pac, something. I think that would almost be better than trying to basically, Frankenstein's monster, the Pac-12, which I'll say that I think that's almost a fairly fitting metaphor because it's a husk. It's a corpse. The Pac-12 is dead.
It's cobbled together from multiple pieces from other things.
Yeah, it's just the old Pac-12 is dead. It's not coming back. It's not the Conference of Champions. It's not any of that. And pretending otherwise, you are just lying to yourself. So it'd almost be better to just have create something new, have it be the Pac whatever, and or if you want to try and keep that, keep that Pac name in there somewhere. Remember history. Don't just completely kill it off. Remember it and honor it, but also acknowledge that it's dead. Don't try and relive the glory days when the glory days are long gone.
Quickly, just getting to this article that I referenced from Forbes, it's just published today. It claims to be a data-driven look at the all Pac-12 Mountain West expansion candidates. And it's got some interesting data in there, interesting commentary. It mentions, honestly, some schools that I hadn't considered as potential targets, but may well be worth considering. But I forget what these are called. It's like a 4-quadrant grid. I don't know what these, there's a term for that. A graph. Anyway, it has 4 different sections. The upper left-hand corner is better than Pac-12 average. And then in the upper right-hand corner, better than Pac-12 and Mountain West Conference average. So those are the schools that you really want to be looking at. Below that, so the lower right-hand corner is better than Mountain West average. And in the lower left-hand corner, schools you don't really want to be looking at, worse than Pac-12 or Mountain West average. And so it looks at a couple different data points. Trips to or appearances in the top 25. I think attendance is part of this.
That's revenue and expenses for the athletic department.
Yeah, so it looks at a couple different data points to come up with this. There are only 3 schools in that upper right-hand quadrant better than Pac-12 and Mountain West average. And these are some schools that were talked about earlier on and part of the initial 4 that the Pac-12 were pursuing out of the American Athletic: UTSA, South Florida, and Memphis. The other school that they were looking at, Tulane, that's in the better than Mountain West average group.
Yeah, but not better than Pac-12.
No.
The interesting 2 schools that weren't talked about, but almost that fit or barely fit into the better than Mountain West, Tulsa is like slightly, maybe a hair on the side. They might be slightly above Mountain West average. Although Louisiana is the closest to that upper right hand without being in it. That's kind of an interesting school to look at. And something I looked at during the break, so I was looking at this article, is Utah State has twice been conference mates with Louisiana. Once in the Big West and also in the Sun Belt, where Louisiana currently is.
Yeah, it used to be known as Louisiana Lafayette. They dropped to Lafayette, just to be known as Louisiana. The Ragin' Cajuns.
Don't want to have that French connection?
I guess. But Lafayette, Louisiana, I had to look it up because it's not on the top of my head. But it's in southern Louisiana. About, not quite, but about halfway between New Orleans and Houston. It's obviously closer to New Orleans, but it is on that western side of Louisiana, and would be a school that does get you into the central time zone, which some TV execs say is going to be important for the survival of either the Pac-12 or the Mountain West.
Yeah, and it's kind of like right on the edge of what you think is, okay, that's maybe acceptable as far as distance. It's not ideal. You'd like to look for, more in Texas, but it wouldn't be the worst thing with Louisiana out there. Because they've made it work a couple of times. And Louisiana schools have made it work several times, being in Western Conference like the WAC or the Big West. Although ideally they end up, in the Sun Belt. That's kind of their ideal geographical footprint.
Interesting note with Louisiana, between 2018 and 2023, they made 20 appearances in the top 25.
And they've been pretty dang good the last few years. They've been really good in football for several years, been kind of the powerhouse of the Sun Belt. They're a potential playoff team, or, if we'd had the 12-team playoff for the last 4 or 5 years, they would have been one of those key contenders to get that spot. They've been fighting for New Year's Six Bowl. I can't remember if they've gotten into one or not.
I don't think so.
But they've been pretty close. So they are, a team that's really raised their capabilities in football last 5-6 years.
Yeah, couldn't tell you what about basketball or there any other sports, but
been okay.
Doesn't matter. It's not what drives the discussion. Anyway, it's an interesting article in Forbes. It also looks at FCS schools about elevating or potentially moving up.
Pretty much all of them are in the bottom left.
But none of them outperform. Though some of them do score well with average attendance numbers that surpass a good number of schools in the Mountain West. But a lot of different things at play here for both conferences to consider. All right, going to take another time out on the Full Court Press. When we come back, we'll recap how we did on trying to predict what would happen this weekend. Pick 6 results next on the Full Court Press.
Have you thought about your furnace lately? Of course not. It's hot outside. Now's a great time to start thinking about replacing it or having it serviced for fall and winter. Advanced Heating and Air will help you get some of the industry's best rebates on a new high-efficient York furnace installed in your home. Or one of Advanced Heating and Air's service professionals can service your furnace for the upcoming winter season. Call today, 752-7272, or schedule a free estimate at advancedheating-ac.com. York, install confidence.
Fall is here. This is Mark at the Sportsman on Main Street. I invite you into our amazing store to see the new fall collection of amazing clothing, shoes, and outerwear for women and men. We have brands like Cool, Fiore, Fjallraven, and we have brought in some new brands from Europe that you will love. Trust me, you will look truly unique in whatever you buy from the Sportsman. Come in and let us take care of you. You'll be glad you did. For over 75 years, come and see us at the Sportsman on Main in downtown Logan with tons of parking in the back.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. I'd like to invite you to learn more about us. Since 1997, we've been Utah's premier one-stop shop for home medical equipment. What sets us apart at Alpine Home Medical is the superior level of customer service. We provide home oxygen, CPAPs, wheelchairs, scooters, breast pumps, and so much more. Come on down and get to know us.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Visit alpinehomemedical.com.
This is Kyle at Advanced Door, and we guarantee every garage door we install for a lifetime, parts and labor. That's every door, every spring, every roller, every track, every motor. The entire garage door system guaranteed for a lifetime, parts and labor. We're Advanced Door, and we guarantee you'll be hearing this for a long time. Find out more at advanced-door.com. That's advanced-door.com.
Interviews, analysis, and a little bit of fun mixed in. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. Hope you had a great weekend. No Aggie football for us, so Jason was hanging around FanX.
Yeah, went down to Salt Lake, Salt Palace. Saw a bunch of nerds. Was one of the nerds. I shouldn't put them in I shouldn't other them because I was one of them.
Yes.
I shaved my head to be among them.
Yeah. I went and watched some marching band competitions. That's how I spend my
There you
Saturday.
go. Yeah, now you're a geek then.
Yeah.
Or just a parent.
Yeah, parent. But hey, we tried to predict a lot of things that would happen over the weekend. So let's see how close we did with our pick 6. Jason has tabulated the numbers. Let's see, you won last week. It was a pretty poor showing. I think I only got one correct last week.
I think it was 3-1 was the final.
Yeah, neither one of us did great, but I
No.
did particularly bad.
So let's go through it this week. So starting with my lines, first was Carson Beck passing yards. Georgia and Alabama, big matchup. Turned out to be a pretty big game. I set the line at 240.5. We weren't exactly bullish on him. We both picked the under, but he had 439 in the loss.
That was a crazy game.
So not a great
game.
Great game, not a great start for us on pick 6.
No.
Then Haj Malik Williams, his total yards against Fresno State. I set the line at 240.5. I took the over. You took the under. He ended up with 301. 182 through the air, 119 on the ground.
Yeah, he looked good.
He did look pretty good in that game. UNLV as well. Third, so I'm up 1-0. Then combined goal differential for Utah State in both of their games, San Jose State and Fresno State, Thursday and Saturday. I set the line at 6.5. You took the under. I took the over. Well, the Aggies won 4-0, but then tied 0-0. So they hit the under in that goal differential. So it's 1-1 now. Blistering 1-1 through 3 lines.
Doing amazing.
Then combined margin of victory for Ridgeline over Logan and Skyview over Bear River. Eric, you set the line at 38.5. You could have thrown out Bear River, the Bear River Skyview game, and then almost doubled that. Still would have only barely hit the under there.
Yes.
I took the over, you took the under. The math came out to 74.
Yeah.
As Ridgeline won 68-0, Skyview won 22-14. So I'm up 2-1. UNLV rushing yards against Fresno State. You set the line at 275.5. I took the under, you took the over. UNLV won that game, but only had 254 yards.
Ooh.
So I'm up 3-1. There's only one line left. So
again, this is not looking very good for me.
No, it's not. Combined home runs for Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. Their combined season total as of today. You set that line at 113.5. They have combined for 112 as of earlier today when I checked.
Yeah, Judge didn't. I don't think he played yesterday.
I think they had only 2 over the week because it was 110 and now it's 112. Aaron Judge has 58. Shohei Ohtani has 54. The scrubs.
It's nuts.
So I took the under. You took the over. So I win 4-1. You would have had the tiebreaker though.
But it's no consolation.
No, it's not. So I did slightly better. Eric did exactly the same as last week. I'm now on a 2-week win streak in pick 6.
Oh, oof. It's rough. By the way, 8739, thanks for texting this in, talking about conference expansion or whatnot with the Pac-12 and the Mountain West. It's all about the money, greed, and power grab.
Don't think I could have said it better myself.
Yes, it is. Hey, that's going to do it for us tonight here in the Full Court Press. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a great night. We'll be back at it again tomorrow, starting at 4 o'clock.
Northern Utah and Southern Idaho's home for sports. KLGN Logan, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.